Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Empower Hour. We are so happy to have you joining us. I know that many of you have extremely busy schedules. Many of you have got finals going on. Many of you are mobilizing. It's the holiday season. There's a lot of exciting things happening in your lives and also in the Providence. So we're really grateful that you are making the time to spend this evening with us. We've got an exciting evening planned for us, some great testimonies that I'm personally excited to hear about, and I hope that you can feel connected to the great things that God is doing through YCLC and through our young people stepping up in this area of the Providence. So to kick off, let's see, who can I call on to pray? Joshua Holmes, would you like to pray for us?
Yeah, I can pray. Please join me in prayer. Dear God, thank you so much for bringing us together today for this Empower Hour. God, we're just going to invite you into this space as we share with one another, all of us from across the nation, preparing for December 28th and for all the other activities that are surrounding it. God, there's so much going on, so I pray that this can be a time for just us to get connected with one another and united so that we can be powerful, God, as we move forward. So, yes, God, I offer this prayer in all of our names and in Jesus' and true parents' name. Amen.
Thank you, Joshua. So I'm going to hand it over to Janil, who's going to start us off with some of the word and some hundake. Thank you, Jenny.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining tonight. I know it's a crazy time. We're less than 2 weeks out from the rally, and a lot of people are already arranged travel to be out there. So looking forward to seeing all of you very soon. All right, so tonight's Empower Hour, the hundake, got this from the Eyepiece TV. It's crazy. It's like just a few weeks ago, but it already feels like old news. There's so much happening. But this is Mother's words that she spoke at the opening session of the Africa Continental Summit. So just to give a background, like before we actually read her words, it's short tonight, but you can see in this room, this is where she was speaking. And it's literally just like, I think it's the parliament. It's like in this conference hall of, I think every person in here is some sort of leader, legislator. There's like 7 heads of state, tribal leaders, country, continent, county, all kind of levels of leadership. It was a continental summit because it was co-hosted by organizations like the Africa Union, which is literally represents every single African nation, and they co-hosted with UPF. I know probably a lot of you know all this, but just to make sure we all know, like, the crazy miracles that are going on, and all culminating in the rally coming up in 2 weeks. Yes, so also just one thing that came to me this morning, we were reading Godable. I know a lot of you are probably reading each morning, and I was thinking about, Mother said, if you unite with me, miracles are going to happen. And it's just incredible to me thinking about everything that's happened in the last 2 years, ever since the Godable we read this morning. Yeah, it's just, yeah, anyways. Okay, so, so there's Mother's words at the Africa Continental Summit. Yesterday, when the military guard of honor saluted me, I marveled at how handsome, good-looking, and manly the young people of Niger can be. As God's only begotten daughter and the true mother, I wanted to make them my sons. To find and have all humanity, about 7.6 billion people in total, become Heavenly Parents' children actually is no simple matter at all. My 80s are already in sight, and there's a limit to how much one can do during one's life on earth. However, as God's only begotten daughter and the mother of the universe, I go wherever I am needed. If the 200 or more countries worldwide inherit the parents' traditions as sibling nations, the world will become the kingdom of heaven on earth, the Heavenly Parent and humanity have so longed for. To me, reading these words, it's just, you can feel how much Mother's pouring out her heart. These are, world level leaders, and, she's just being completely raw, completely vulnerable. This is who she is. Her heart is to love all people, and that's what pushes her each day. And it's really humbling for me just reading these words. I hope you can feel Mother's love. I hope that we can really feel how much Mother loves us, and also we can be inspired to really act on behalf of True Mother. So yeah, there's going to be lots of opportunities to contribute, to really give back, to be the light and be the hope for True Mother. I'm sure a lot of us already booked our plane tickets, purchased our registration, whatever we had to do to be there. And maybe some of us haven't quite made the decision, or we're planning to go but haven't registered. So yeah, we have all these different events coming up. This Young Tribe Week, Young Tribe Weekend. There's watch parties. There's a YCLC launch. And I want to just encourage everyone, if you haven't registered already, please register. The deadline was yesterday, but yeah, we really need to know who's coming, so that actually we need to know because they're giving out tickets. We need to know literally each person in each seat, so that we can make sure that everyone has a place. And yeah, I'm really excited to see all of you. It's going to be, I don't know, I feel like we don't even know what's in store. It's going to be one of those weekends where, like, 30 years later, we're like, yeah, I was there. I remember you were there. Yeah. It's really going to be a turning point in history. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, it's a good point. It is historical. It is one of those things that maybe we can't quite comprehend at this time. And actually, what you should know, that the tickets point is really true, because they're running out of tickets. And that's not just something we're saying to, like, get people to get their act together, but, like, legitimately they're running out of space. I had a call from the ticketing team saying, Kaeleigh, we need to know exactly how many young people are coming, because we need more seats. They want to take some of our seats. So I'm trying to protect them for us, everybody. That means you have to register so your seat can be taken up. So make sure you register tonight if you haven't. The deadline was yesterday, as Jenny mentioned. So with that said, we have some great testimonies tonight. This whole realm that I've been mentioning each week about YCLC and even just my own growth. I've been so moved to work with other brothers and sisters who are experiencing the same level of transformation and hope through engaging in this area of the Providence witnessing environment and the Christian Foundation. So to kick off tonight, I'm really excited to have Olga with us. She works for headquarters, but I have never known her in this capacity. And every time I talk to her or I hear her experience and her testimony, I seriously am excited. I am so moved and I am so hopeful because of who she is and what she's doing. So let's welcome Olga. She's going to share her testimony of working with some ministers and reaching out.
Hey guys, here you can see us, right? I'm actually with Luda, whom we're doing this. She's my partner in crime. She might add something if she wants to, but she was begging me not to. So, but we'll see. Yeah, thank you, Kaeleigh. Yeah, like, you're the best in introducing people and empowering, honestly. Thank you. So Kaeleigh asked to share a little bit how we started reaching out to churches, just to start with, I never really wanted to, it just never was really inspired, for the last, for the NASA Coliseum, I went to a couple churches, sat there, like I was like a warm body there, probably in the seat, and it was like, it wasn't speaking to me, but like when this event was announced, and we already have been doing the condition of Luda, for guests, we had friends who've been teaching divine principles. So like I had this idea once in the prayer that we should go and reach out to Christian Orthodox churches, because probably nobody would go there to them, and they were historically very, very difficult. It's Russian Orthodox churches and Armenian and all kinds of Orthodox churches, can imagine, not Jewish, but you know, this kind of old kind of Soviet Union realm churches. And I shared this idea with Luda, and she said, yeah, it's a great idea, you know. And if she said no, I wouldn't even like continue, you know. And kind of my first lesson was, it always, like, every idea has to be teamwork, you know, somebody has to support the idea. And kind of it took us a couple of weeks to start doing something, you know. And we decided to make a plan, right? I just went to Google Maps and found all the Orthodox churches I could find, you know, in Brooklyn, because we live in Brooklyn, and in Manhattan. And it also took me like a week to do that. You know, we put the addresses, and we tried to develop a strategy, you know, where we're gonna go first. We don't have a car, you know, and we, in the beginning, we decided, like, how we're gonna do that, you know. Orthodox churches historically hated us, and and I approached Reverend Grodner, you know, like, Reverend Grodner, like, for begging for advice. We're not experienced in visiting churches. What are we gonna do? And he said, you know what? He basically said, you don't really stand a chance, because you have to develop relationship with them. And we don't have time to develop relationship before December 28th, you know. And I shared it with Luda, and she said, yeah, we don't have time, so we just have to go, you know, through fear, you know, through like being aware that we might be rejected, and just go and just see who's prepared, you know. I mean, it's easier said than done, right? You know. So, and then we started looking for like materials. What are we gonna give them? And there were no flyers, you know, there was nothing. And at that time, and we're waiting for flyers and finding excuses not to do that, basically, you know. And finally, we decided to go to this one church where Luda lives close to, you know, and she actually went there. And it's funny experience that, you know, she went there, and the first thing she sees there, she didn't even meet the pastor, you know. The first thing she sees there is like a book, you know, the book of a guy who was persecuting our church very badly, you know. He was having hearings in the Russian parliament against our church. And this is the first thing she sees, you know, on the church counter. And then she texts me that. I was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? And then she talked to him. Yeah, she said in Russian that this was actually the beginning and the end of our most fearful experience. Since then, everything was much better. You know, she talked to him. He wasn't very positive about the church. She tried to save her. You know, she told her that she's in a cult and like be careful. But he was friendly, you know, and it was fine. You know, since then she called him, and he was openly talking about the event, and he said, I just cannot make it, you know. So we started visiting churches, and so we went to this Russian Orthodox church, like the biggest cathedral, you know, on 97th Street, and we barely found the pastor, and he was like basically passing by, and he appeared to be like this young guy, you know. And we told him, we gave him the letter, we are given the Trumada's, like, you know, the flyer with Trumada's picture, and we're expecting that he's gonna like throw us out, you know. And he said, oh, this sounds so cool, you know, I'm gonna come. And I was like, what? You know, I don't see your guys' reaction, so I don't know whether I'm even making sense, but like, so this is the kind of experience, you know. And then we took his contact information, and oh, thank you, you're doing great, somebody said. So we took his information, and then we decided to go again to visit him, because we thought by this time he already Googled us, you know, he's not gonna come anyway, you know. And we went there yesterday, and we just picked up our tickets, you know, and we are also kind of got him in the hallway, you know, after the service, where they usually have lunch, you know, with the congregation. And we're like, do you remember us? And he said like vaguely, and I was like, okay, let's see. And we said, remember we invited you to the event? Yes, he said, I remember. And I like forgot about it. And we said, we brought you the tickets. I said, oh, great. How many tickets do you have? And I like pull out all my tickets. I had 10. And I said, we have 10. He said, yeah, okay, that's good. That will be enough. I'll take all of them. You know, we're gonna have like a pastors meeting, you know, all my deacons, you know. And these guys are not like, they're not like, you know, regular congregation. They're like the the kind of clergy, you know, in Russian Orthodox Church. Everybody is like went to the theological seminary, you know, they're like all like hardcore, you know, and like, yeah, I'm gonna give them the tickets. Like, what? It's like, and we are in awe, you know, and like surprised by these miracles, you know. And what else? Then we went to Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and the guy said, yeah, I was waiting for you, and he took the tickets, and the guy who was assisting him said, like, what is this event about? You know, like basically telling us, where are my tickets, you know? And yeah, and also, I mean, it's like, guys, it's been like, how to say, it's been a couple months, you know. All this stuff didn't happen overnight, right? So and we prayed, you know, we continued praying with you that we've been on the condition, and today is actually our last day of our 40-day condition. So it's kind of interesting that Kaeleigh asked us to share the testimony. And I remember another thing, you know, like I was looking for the Orthodox churches, and I found this Armenian evangelical church, which is not Orthodox church, but a Protestant church, you know. And I went there, and I found that there's Bible study there, and it was like a couple months ago. And I went there, and I really was dragging my feet. I really didn't want to go, you know. I texted Luda, said I don't want to go, and she said, okay, don't go, like it's your choice, you know. And for some reason I went there, and I think my ancestors were pulling me or something like that. I really didn't want to go, and I met wonderful people there. And for the second prayer Bible study, Margaret Rapke came with me, you know, and she was just sitting there. She didn't even say much, you know, but it kind of brightened up everything. And then I invited the pastor to the YCLC event, you know, and he said, yes, I'll do my best to come. And he said, I mean it, you know. And then his assistant came to the YCLC dinner. And just before the dinner, she texted me and told me, like, is this event organized by Unification Church? And I was like, okay, that's it. And I said, it's a cooperation, it's a united effort with the Christian churches. And like 4 hours passed, and she didn't reply to me. And I thought, okay, I lost her, you know. But she, like 4 hours later, she replied to me like, oh, cool, okay, I'm gonna come. And and on the day of the event, she texted me that she cannot come. And I was like, okay, she cannot come. But she said, I'm gonna meet you for the coffee. And we met like 2 hours before the event for the coffee. And slowly, kind of the time of the event approached, and he came with me to the event, and he stayed for the whole event, you know. And it's like, yeah, stuff like that happens. And I didn't believe it at all, but I guess God believed it. So I mean, I can continue forever with many small things like that, but I guess what my lesson is that always, like, God uses every offering, you know. If you have some kind of interest in this, do something, you know, reach out to something, do some small action, you know, and stuff will start happening, you know. Like when I met this evangelical church with young pastor, I was thinking like, I cannot bring them to the regular prayer breakfast, you know. They're not gonna fit in. And then the next day, Kaeleigh is sharing about YCLC, and it's like stuff like that happens all the time. And another thing, like have a condition. Condition helps, you know, even if it's very small. Kind of, we have a condition of prayer with Luda every day, and sometimes we miss the condition, honestly. But during the condition, we sometimes remember what we wanted to do and didn't do. You know, it just helps to at least keep up with some steps, you know. And what else? And yeah, just do action, you know. And I know that everything that you do, even if you think it's not going to be an offering for this event, God is going to use it. And it happened so many times, you know. So, and even the fact that I'm sharing here with you, we started reaching out to Christian Orthodox churches, and somehow we ended up with some young pastors and young people. So you never know how your offering is going to be used. So Luda, do you want to add something? Anything?
I don't know.
Maybe we have, yeah.
I just want to share maybe few things what I feel about visiting churches. Just for me, this all mobilization time was like break all my conception about churches, because you probably don't know what Christian Orthodox Church is. Because in the beginning of my movement, history of when I joined the movement, my relationship with my closest friend was broken because Russian Orthodox Church was really against our movement, and my friends was really believer that time. So, and this in this particular period of mobilization, I wasn't expect anything, any good experience. I was expected a bad attitude or some, I don't know. We decide in the beginning with Olga, we decide just do this because of condition, just do this good condition for God. But when we start meeting these pastors and people, I was really surprised. All of them was really friendly, and not because of us. This is because of, I really feel time is different right now. Time is really prepare to accept, for everybody to accept true parents. And I really feel this this amazing spirit, and I feel spiritual world really prepare everybody. We just need go open our mouths and just give them information. That's it. We don't need do anything else. So this was really big surprise for me. This Russian Orthodox churches accept our invitation. We don't know exactly they will come or not yet, but for now, it's really amazing experience. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, if you have any questions or anything, we are available. So this is it.
Wonderful. Sunhwa, can you unmute us? Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
So inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, what an authentic journey, and just the reality of our own fears and concepts. And Luda, I echo what you're saying, that the time feels so different, in the past being met with such resistance from other Christian faiths, but somehow spirit world is moving, and Father is working hard in spirit world, and things are really shifting. So it's such a beautiful testimony. Thank you so much for paving that way, and for leaning into those fears and feeling uncomfortable and still persevering. It's really so moving to hear. Thank you so much. Yeah. So now we're going to hear from a brother who I've been so grateful to work with in this area as well, Pastor Jermaine Bishop Jr. I've been learning so much from him, my own fears, as a young unificationist who grew up in the movement and was born into the movement, kind of feeling like our traditions are strange and not really sure what we have to bring to the world, but actually through working with Jermaine and his confidence and his pride in who we are has been so healing for me, and I've been learning so much from him. So let's welcome Jermaine to share his testimony of working in this area. Yay, Jermaine.
Good evening, everybody. Before I begin, I just want to say, Teresa, I'm in your office. It feels great. Yeah, so anyhow, Kaeleigh asked me before the call to kind of share on the point of how are we preparing for personal transformation. And I was like reflecting on it a lot, and I feel super nervous, to be honest with you, because I was like, I don't know what to share actually, but I'm just kind of reflecting on being here in New York for like the past 2 days with the mobilization team. And what I really want to share is more so like how they have been preparing, and how I've kind of like for the past 2 days been able to really connect to them and attach to what they're doing, and really inherit from the heart and spirit that they've been mobilizing throughout New York insanely. With, I didn't even know church could happen 7 days a week, but every single day there's something that they're going to. they're at something right now, actually. So we actually sat down for a meeting, I think last night or the Sunday night, the first night we got here, because all of the team wanted to get together and just share a report of what they were going through and what they were seeing. I personally went out with a sister named Ayan from Florida, Ali from Nebraska, and then Toshi, I think he's from actually right here in Terrytown, and then Sue, I think he's like the co-pastor inside of Philly, right? So this is the team I went out with, and we went out to the first church we went out to. Was actually really amazing, because usually we go out to African-American churches a lot of times, and because we tend to be more embraced by African-American churches. But this church, it was like a church you'd probably see on TV. They have like 7 different locations all throughout New York. There's a couple pastoring, they're both white. And, you know, they're sharing, you know, not just like biblical truths, but like kind of like these psychological messages and things like that, you know, psychology-based messages. And it's a super like close-knit community. Like us walking in, like everyone noticed, like, oh, those guys aren't from this community type of, you know, feeling inside of the church. And to be honest, as we were sitting there, even though the message was really good and the environment felt very warm, we were like, yeah, I think we walked into the wrong place. You know, like, I don't know how this is gonna go so well. But as she went on with her message, number one, I kind of just like felt God's spirit and God's presence inside of that place, and it was just really beautiful. At some point, I kind of just let go of even thinking about talking to the person, and just felt like I needed to receive whatever the pastor was saying. And as she got around to the end of her message, she shared something about diversity that I thought was really powerful, and it was like everything, you know, that we're kind of standing for in YCLC when we say, you know, uniting, you know, the body of Christ, right? Uniting the nation by uniting the body of Christ. She shared about this movie she had watched recently. It was a movie about a bunch of different farms in America, a true story, and how in order to make money in modern day on farms, they had to go the route of running monolithic farms, which if you're from anywhere that has farms, you know that means only having one crop on your farm, right? So there's a corn farm, or there's a cotton farm, or there's a tomato farm, but there's not a farm that produces all of those things at once. I mean, what happens over time is after about 100 years of, you know, families producing just one crop on the farm, the soil is burnt out and the farm actually can't produce as efficiently as it's supposed to produce. And in this movie, I guess there's some guy, you know, who's been around for a while, and he knows exactly how to run farms, how they did in the olden days. And he comes around and he shows this one farm how to produce, you know, a farm, how it should run in order for it to run efficiently without you having to use, you know, pounds of fertilizer that poisons, you know, the food that we eat. And the way that that's done is you have to have hundreds of different crops on the field, and you can't put down things that kills off the bugs that you don't want there, but rather you simply figure out how to make nature work to your advantage. Even things like coyotes were coming in and eating certain vegetables. They said, no, don't kill the coyotes. Let's figure out how to even make them work to our advantage. But the kind of the moral of the story was that we thrive in diversity and monolithism, or, you know, just simply sticking inside of your own little box with people who think like you, walk like you, talk like you, look like you, actually leads to death, not life. And I was just like, wow, like this lady's so ready to receive, you know, what we have to say. Like I'm sitting here nervous and like she's ready. And sure enough, after she ended service, she went around and talked to her congregation, and she approached us. And I think we said about 2 words. And she said, this is what I can do for you. I can send out your message to everybody, you know, inside of, you know, the 7 churches that I'm a part of, and I can share it with whatever churches that we're friends with. It was just such a beautiful experience. And we came back to that night and shared in a meeting. And I was just asking each and every one of their brothers and sisters, you know, what they get out of going to churches every single Sunday. Why do they come back and do it? Why do they leave their homes even and come here to New York to mobilize all day? And what was his name? Toshi was sharing how, like, when he remembered being on GPA and walking into a Christian church and hearing someone say something like, you know, Jesus died for our sins. And at that time feeling, you know, kind of arrogant in a sense, understanding and knowing, you know, what true parents had taught us. And that is that Jesus didn't die for our sins, but actually that's actually something, you know, to be sad about, something right that we should actually regret with the deepest, you know, part of our hearts. And he came from that to attending church this time, mobilizing every single Sunday, and seeing that, man, there's something in these Christian brothers and sisters that there is to inherit. And that's, you know, the heart of wanting to take what they're studying every single day and really live it out. You know, that love that they talk about Jesus having, they really want to express that towards one another. And you can feel that the closeness and that bond between them. Not every single one of them, of course, but some of the churches they visit, for sure, you can see that. You can see a fondness for Jesus that he couldn't himself feel, right? Though they may not understand him in the way that we understand him, nonetheless, they love Jesus with the deepest parts of their soul. And they extended that love to the greater community. Specifically, he went to one church and he said it was about 30 members in the church. And they said how they had shared $38,000, over the course of the past couple of years. And he's thinking to himself, like, how could you even think to share money with someone else when your church is not even thriving? It's so small itself, but still their mindset is, how do I build up my community? How do I take care of the people around me? Another thing Sugu shared was about, which I really do believe is like what kind of the heart and mindset I want to walk forward with is what we're actually doing when we go out to these churches. Is the number one thing we're asking ourselves is, how can I walk in such a way that embodies true parents when I walk through the door? So not thinking to myself that, hey, I have something to share with them, but more so thinking that, man, I'm just a living representation of true parents, right? And I'm walking through the door with that. Yeah. And then the last thing we kind of closed out with was like what the vision of YCLC, which has been like kind of the blurriest thing ever, in my opinion. It's been really difficult. Kaeleigh called me with Now Kimmy on the phone like a couple of weeks ago about this whole thing. And to be honest with you, in the beginning, I wasn't super excited to take it on. But since it's been like a growing thing and you get to, it wasn't until, coming to New York and getting to connect with, Reverend Desmond, who's a part of the core team, Reverend Ed Long, who's a part of the core team, Sancha Kaeleigh, Dr. Rouse, who you all know is the co-chairman of ACLC, right? Seeing people, like living, breathing people, and seeing, how this transforms people's perspectives and seeing how it transforms you and what happens in those relationships and things, like thinking to yourself, like, man, this is what true parents fought for their entire lives. And I remember from the specific Hundakid that I had read, True Fathers talking about how, that the global foundation that we need for everything that true parents has ever done to even matter, Christianity has to unite with the Unification Church. Unification Church has to unite with Christianity. And I spent about, as far as preparing, for personal transformation, today I spent about like 2 hours in Uncle Jerry's office, like one of the great benefits of being here in headquarters. So, and I was just talking to him about, what does he think that we need in order to really make the type of impact that YCLC is promising the world, uniting the nations by uniting the body of Christ. And one thing he shared with me is that we need to understand the heart of Jesus more. We absolutely need to understand the heart of Jesus. And he told me he doesn't feel there's any shortcut to it, right? We can promise many, fast things or fast turnarounds or fast changes, but at the end of the day, Christianity has to welcome us. And once they welcome us and allow us into their hearts, then we can share whatever with them. And they're really ready to go forward along with us, side by side, instead of, behind us. And I think I've seen that in Bishop Noel Jones. Bishop Noel Jones has experienced True Mother's love like firsthand. Right? I think he's really come to the point where he's like, there's no one in the world that can love me the way True Mother loves me, or love all of Christianity the way the True Mother loves Christianity. And I believe he has the same respect for True Father. And for that reason, I think he's willing to risk any sense of credibility that he's built up over the past, 50 or 60 years, and stand in a podium and say that this is, the spinal cord of the movement of Christianity, right? So personal preparation, I'm trying my best to, even though I grew up Christian, I tell a lot of people I left the Christian church at 15 years old. That's not very substantial in my opinion. And so I do have a fondness for Jesus, and I do have a fondness for God. I've never been able to be an atheist in my life, no matter how hard I try, because of that foundation that I have. But nonetheless, I do think loving someone, whether it be Jesus or any one of you on this call, it's an action and not just simply a feeling, right? And so personally, I've just been praying and I've just been reading specifically this book called The Jesus Principle, written by our education department, because I desperately want to understand the heart of Jesus more. And I desperately want to understand how Jesus feels about the Christian church and be able to see them from that perspective. And when I can feel from that way, I'm pretty sure they'll resonate. They'll see it as I walk in the door, and they'll see it as I talk to them. And that will allow them to open up their hearts and minds to receive what YCLC has to do for them, what True Mother has to do for them, rather, right?
Awesome. Thank you, Jermaine. Someone, can you unmute us and we can all say thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Jermaine.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. I mean, Jermaine, after his last final, he just flew out to New York and has been there and is there with the team, realizing that he's got a lot going on. So I'm really grateful for him being there. These days, we're talking every day, dealing with more stuff going on. And I mean, I think all of you can feel when you hear Jermaine speak, there's a certain, like, he feels very wise when he speaks, and his words are so clear. So it's such a blessing to work with Jermaine. I'm really grateful for it. So yeah, just to add my own testimony, I may have shared bits and pieces of this over the last few weeks. I was trying to message Sunhwa and Taza, and I was like, do you remember what I said last week? Because I've given this testimony in several different venues, and I'm trying to remember what I said where. But yeah, I'm just going to share from the heart. And you know, the main thing that's coming up for me is I remember when I try to piece together the story of how I got to this place, which is just ridiculous that I'm here in this situation. It was in January, and we were doing the Subregion 1 YAM retreat. And Taza and I were in New York. We were at Belvedere, and maybe some of you were there. We were just hosting a weekend retreat to kick off the new year. Damien had just been appointed as president, and he spent the whole weekend with us, was totally present. And I remember this late night conversation we had, and we were sitting together, and you know, we were trying to figure out tribal messiahship for our generation. And Taza and I, you know, we ended up just like fighting with Damien and with Milhan, and it was pretty intense, to the point where like I felt really hurt by the conversation, because I'm saying things like, look, Damien, I don't want to go out and bring people into my church. I'm not proud of where my church is at right now. And I think we have so many problems. And so I don't want to share it. You know, we haven't figured it out ourselves. So how can we go out? And his advice over and over again, and I hear it so clearly in my mind right now, is, you know, you can't say anything. You can't give any feedback until you've tried it. You have to go and try it. And then you can say something. And that's not, you know, that wasn't enough for me, my self-righteous self, and feeling like, no, my point is valid. You know, I'm not going to do it until things are better, then things are functioning better. And, you know, slowly more and more conversations happening like that. And actually, you know, if any of you know Brene Brown, one of the points in her book is that she doesn't want to talk to anybody who hasn't been in the ring of vulnerability themselves, hasn't put themselves out there. Because unless you do that, you know, you don't really have the foundation to have your opinion be as valid as somebody else who is trying. And so that's been the switch for me, is just trying things, and trying it without, like, you know, any as little concepts as possible, but trying things, putting myself in uncomfortable situations, and working with Christian brothers and sisters and visiting churches. It changes your perception of it. Things start to click for me that didn't click before, where I can see how, as young people, we are so important in this work. I feel like YCLC was getting to a point where they were doing incredible things, and you know, the level of leadership that's coming together and standing with True Mother is just astounding. I mean, I still can't even wrap my mind around it. And I grew up in the church, you know. But it's almost like they can get to a point, but then there's this whole other generation that's going to be left behind, and we're going to miss a whole generation in between. And actually, I've been kind of struggling. Damien often will question, you know, why do you need YCLC? Why can't just young people do ACLC? But I realized that we need this place to discover and own it for ourselves, and create it for our generation, create what this could look like, a unified body under God, what that could look like for our generation. And I just read this article about how millennials are leaving church and not coming back. You know, the thought has always been that when millennials start having families and children, that many of them will come back to the church. But I read this article that was, you know, through their survey and their data, that less and less of our generation is coming back to church. And I really, like, I've been thinking about it, and I'm talking about it with people, trying to understand what that means. And I think what comes up for me is that there's something missing. There's something missing when our generation comes to church. They're not getting whatever it is that they're looking for. And even I went to visit a friend's church on Sunday, and I really struggled with that church. Very traditional, and you know, they're talking about how the Immaculate Conception is possible, and you know, Joseph's story from their perspective. And I was really struggling with all my theology and, like, you know, why am I here? But I looked around the room and I saw 100 young families my age, and they were showing up at church. And I really, like, tried to dig deep and understand, why are they here? Like, what are they looking for? What are they getting out of this? And I realized that we want something. People are looking for something, and so we're desperate, you know, to connect with community and connect with faith, but we're missing the authenticity and the groundedness of faith. Sometimes it can feel up in the clouds. And I realize, as a young unificationist movement, that's something that we have to bring to the table, that we can offer. It's our relationships that speak so loudly. And, you know, one testimony to share, and I don't remember if I shared this last week, but it's worth sharing again. You know, one of the young clergy that Jermaine and I have been working with, he's on the left here. This is Minister Ed Long. And, you know, he's had a journey himself. His father was a well-known pastor, and he was meant to inherit the church, but through whatever political challenges happened, he didn't inherit that church. And so he's kind of been walking his course. And he's a radio talk show host. And, like, when you hear him talk, his coolness just, like, oozes out of him. He just feels very cool. You feel cool to be in his presence. And the whole time, you know, this is our first time meeting him, and we're just throwing him and our brother Desmond over here into the ring, like, for real, starting at 7 a.m. prayer. And, you know, they're taking it, they're doing it, they're totally soaking it up. And I had this experience in between our two prayer programs for YCLC, where we sat with our ACLC elders, and they were just pouring out their wisdom, and we were just inheriting it. And after everybody had left, I watched Ed, and he was at headquarters. There's True Parents timeline on the wall, you know, both True Father and True Mother's life, and he's just studying it. He's looking year by year, reading each description for a long time. And I'm really wondering what this guy is thinking. Like, what is going through his mind right now? And when he shared, you know, at the evening prayer program, he went so deep. You know, he was talking about his own challenges in life, and how he really respects people who can be married for a long time, because he experienced a divorce in his life. And things were clicking for him, so much so that at the end of it, you know, Dr. Rouse invited him to come to Korea in February, and Ed's like, okay, Kaeleigh, what are the dates? Okay, that's Super Bowl Sunday. I can't come that Sunday, but I can come right afterwards. You know, he's, like, legit making the plans to come. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm not ready to have this conversation, brother. I don't even know if I'm ready to go to Korea and experience all that yet. But he's so in it. And then what I want to highlight is, you know, his Instagram posts here. And by the way, he has 15,000 followers on Instagram. And the night after our program, this is what he posted. It says, unification. We all were just humans until man caused us to be separated by heritage, race, religion, income, and nationality. I spent this last weekend with people who look less like me on the outside, yet we reflect the same God from within. These leaders helped me to understand more about myself and our Creator. We prayed, cried, laughed, ate, and so much more together. Thank you, Lord, for new relationships. And when I saw that, it was like such a humbling experience, because, you know, I really doubt our movement. I doubt what we bring to the table. I doubt, you know, I wonder how people see us. I think we look strange. I think we look, you know, like dorky little kids, and we don't speak as well. Even myself, you know, I don't speak the way that Ed and Desmond do on stage. They're incredible public speakers. But what they experienced was so much more important than what we said. And I realized that it was these relationships and the true love that they were feeling through interacting with us. And that's something we can be proud of. That's something we can have confidence in, even if we don't know all the right things to say. You know, there's a pastor that I'm working with in Maryland, and you know, he studied a little bit of divine principles, still has a lot more to learn, but, you know, he'll say things in front of his church randomly where he's like, Kaeleigh, whatever this sister asks of me, I will do it. you ask anything of me, Kaeleigh, and I will do it. And I'm like, oh man, like, what do I say to that? I don't even know what I can do. And it's awkward and uncomfortable. But the truth is, that's not my responsibility. There are others who are teaching him divine principle, but my responsibility is to show him through my life and my actions and my love what true parents came to do. And that is what he's experiencing through my relationship with him. And I think as young people, that's what we can bring to the table. So I say all that just to encourage us that you may not have all things figured out. You may still be figuring out your own faith, but it is so transformative to try something new. And now that I'm in this realm, I don't have much to complain about, because actually it's beautiful. Before, when I was sitting back and just saying, oh yeah, well, I don't, why are all these people doing this? I don't agree with that. I wouldn't do it that way, that kind of thinking and that kind of energy. But now that I'm in it, I'm thinking I'm so repentful of that kind of attitude, because actually these people are doing our brothers and sisters, our elders are doing amazing things for the right reasons and many times in the right way. But we can also bring new ideas to the table, and that's what YCLC is about. If you're not following it on Instagram, you got to. It's we.r.yclc. We have an incredible team that's doing great stuff every day and really promoting the messages of YCLC. Yeah, so I say all that just to encourage and to challenge your concepts. Whatever's there, whatever's coming up, you got to lean into those challenges and just try it. Olga's point is important. Don't go by yourself. I think that's really scary, and you need a brother or sister or an elder to be there with you. I mean, unless you're super gung-ho and you go ahead and do that, and more power to you. But for me, it definitely helps to have others to go with, to have that experience with, to share my growth and my transformation with. Otherwise, it just stays insular and doesn't go anywhere. So I just want to encourage all of us, whatever area we're involved in, whatever we're doing, that this is the place to experience the most growth and transformation. I am growing every day in this realm that I'm involved in. So we have our YCLC launch coming up. It's right after the rally. We've got the rally in Newark, and then YCLC is down the street right afterwards. And you know what, just so everyone knows what we're thinking, the rally, if you've been to one, it's a lot. And especially as someone who's an introvert, and maybe some of you are introverts too, I feel really overwhelmed after those experiences. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going from this huge rally, and then we're leading this 600-person YCLC launch, and feeling kind of like grumbly in my stomach, like do I want to do another big event like that? But actually I'm really inspired about our shift in thinking, that the rally is subject, that's got the power and the energy, but the YCLC is like the after party where we can dive deeper and authentically and genuinely into the topics that are brought up from the rally. So it's kind of taking True Mother's message and True Mother's vision and applying it through our personal testimony and personal discussion, and showing on stage our unity of genders and race and denomination. And we want people to walk away feeling like they get it, they get what we're trying to create, because we showed it to them through this first glance. And when we finish the launch, the plan is that we're going to, next year in 2020, have regional YCLC conferences, one in each region, and we want to partner with our SRCs and with Young Clergy, and all of you are invited in your region to come attend a weekend of growing with our Christian brothers and sisters and building this network of YCLC. So last night I was texting with Milhan, and he was telling me, he was just sharing between good friends, YCLC has actually been a bit of a headache for him organizationally. He's organizing the budgets and the mobilizing, and YCLC doesn't quite fit, into the structure that exists, and we've kind of shaken things up and confused people, and we're still figuring it all out, and I apologized for that. And I still feel that we're figuring it out. But I realize that, it's a happy headache, because it means that our generation, our young people, are looking for a way to plug in. They're looking for a way to connect that is spiritually renewing for them, that they feel they're growing through. And that's what I hope YCLC can be. I hope it can be, in our ministries, Tasna used to share with me that a lot of young adult ministries were experiencing a point where they felt like it was time to go beyond their circle of young adult ministry. They wanted to start to reach out so they didn't lose the momentum and the growth that they were experiencing. And I feel like that's what's happening with our young unificationists all over the nation, that there's something brewing. And so we've got to do it. We've got to try something new. We've got to go outside of our bubble. You know, I feel so sorry that we grew up thinking that Christians were bad, you know, as a young unificationist, that their theology was wrong. And to be afraid of Christians, I definitely grew up that way. And I was talking with my husband, we want to start bringing our children to Christian Sunday schools, you know, more regularly so that they are immersed in that culture. And we brought my kids to one on Sunday and they had such a fantastic experience teaching me about Daniel and the lion's den. You know, I don't know much about that story, but my 5-year-old and 3-year-old were teaching me. They do a great job in Sunday school. And that's a beautiful thing. You know, they're learning about Jesus and the power of God. And, you know, it's something that we in many ways missed out growing up in our church. So it's this beautiful harmony, right? We're coming together, we're bridging the gap, we're learning from each other and exchanging and this beautiful relationship. So yeah, I hope that's hopeful. I'm excited. I hope everyone else is sort of excited or like starting to feel something in their souls. Yeah, and hopefully we'll see you guys there. And if not, we'll see you in your region when we come all across the nation. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to post them, but otherwise we will close for the evening. Thank you guys for coming tonight. Thanks, Olga, for being super excited. I appreciate that.
Let's give a round of applause for Kaeleigh.
Awesome. Jermaine, did you ask this question? Where's the guy? Behind the. Do you want to talk about him?
He's actually right here in the room. That's why I said it.
Hello. Am I on the camera?
Hi, everybody. This is Isaac. He's been running the YCLC Instagram page, and if you haven't seen it yet, you're about to be blown away. It's like incredible quality. Let's give him a round of applause. Sunhwa, can you unmute us?
My roommate.
All right, so we're going to close out. Hey, Robert, do you want to close us in prayer for the evening? My Maryland brother.
Robert Abendra.
Yeah, man, you.
All right. Please join me in prayer, everybody. God, good evening. Thank you for this awesome, inspiring, informative discussion tonight about YCLC and hearing about what's going on in the background, and really not just the background, but really in the hearts of our leaders, Heavenly Parents. Really inspiring and enriching to hear that and understand what's going on in the hearts of our leaders, because that is so important, and it helps us relate to them and unify with them, unite with them, God. And anyways, I'm super, super grateful for this experience. I pray that everyone can take something home. Well, everyone's home already, but I pray that everyone can take something and keep it in their hearts that they got out of tonight. And I really feel there's a new energy in our movement right now, and I'm excited, and I hope everyone else is excited, and I really pray that it can spread wide, and that we can really create an environment where people are really attracted to it, especially young adults. It's pretty scary to think that young adults are leaving church and not coming back, but I definitely feel here with this meeting and with this group, God, that there is so much hope and so much energy to be spread that will be able to connect to those people, Heavenly Parent, that you want to connect to, God. So thank you for this night, that we're able to connect to your heart, and please join us in our days moving forward. And we got 2 weeks left until this rally. So please join us and use us. And it's going to be amazing. So pray and report this all in my name, Robert Abendroth of the Abendroth West Central family. Jew.
Jew. Thank you, Robert. Wonderful prayer. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank
See you
you.
next
Night.
time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.